class. A topic that I really wanted to cover was about the topic of avoidance. When it comes to anxiety, avoidance is a key factor in maintaining the disorders. And I also want to talk about how that can actually lead to effective treatments. If we consider that a key factor is avoidance, then exposing somebody to what they fear actually can reduce the anxiety. So let's talk about this avoidance cycle. So typically what ends up happening is that if there is some sort of thing that makes you anxious. So if that is, hey, I saw a snake on the ground. I may be scanning for some sort of danger. My heart rate might go up. I may get a fear response, so that fight or flight response. And we really focus in on trying to escape or avoid the thing that is making us frightful. So if I saw a snake in the wild, I might run away. And that makes me feel really good, right? And that actually is adaptive for us, right? It got me out of the situation. But what if it wasn't an actual adaptive anxiety that I had? So for example, if we go back to our Usher who was afraid of escalators. If I have anxiety about going onto an escalator, I may try to escape or avoid it, right? I might say, nope, not going on that escalator. And in the short term, I'm going to have relief. But in the long term, that just reinforces that anxiety the next time. So for example, I might go, oh, I want to avoid the mall because the mall has escalators. So now I'm avoiding even the mall situation. Now I feel like, well, if I go to the mall, I don't have a chance to cope with it. I don't even know how to deal with this. Or it might cause me to overplan the next time I want to go to the mall. So this avoidance actually in the short term decreases our anxiety. It makes me feel good. But now I'm going to increase the amount of the long-term behaviors of trying to avoid that. So let me give you a real concrete example. When we're talking about selective mutism, a child may be afraid of talking to people that they don't know or don't know very well. So let's pretend that this child is in school. The child is asked a question and is prompted to engage. So what's your name? The child starts to feel very anxious and avoids this. So you might see this behaviorally. For example, a child may actually shy away and go behind their parents, or might actually just drop their face and look down. But an adult might actually jump in and rescue that child. So if this is the first day of class, the child may be asked what their name is. They may avoid it, try to hide behind parent, and the parent says, oh, this is little Bobby. Everybody feels better. The parent feels better. The child feels better. So in this, everybody is negatively reinforced, right? We took away that anxiety. And so overall, the next time that child encounters a similar situation, they're going to be more likely to avoid it. So every single time that we see this, and one of the conceptualizations or the way that we think about things like selective mutism is that people jump in. Adults want to reduce that awkward situation, and so they jump in for the child. You'll see this again in that separation anxiety video. Another way that this shows up is in cognitive avoidance. So we can avoid things even with our thoughts. So if we think about something like generalized anxiety disorder, that's characterized by a lot of worry. So it's worry about things that might happen in the future or might happen right now. Rather than face whatever that worrisome thing is, people might actually think outside of this. They may not actually try to experience that worry. So worry is a way to avoid thinking about the problems, but not actually solve them. So there is actually this belief that a lot of people with generalized anxiety disorders have, is that worry is helpful or beneficial. But in general, it isn't. Worrying is not going to necessarily change the outcome. So if we go back to that idea about like anxiety around a test. So a child may have anxiety around a test that's going to be happening. If this person just gets into worrying, so maybe it is, I'm going to fail this test, I don't have enough time to actually work on the test. I might think, oh, this must mean that if I fail the test that I'm never going to get into the college that I want to, and if I fail that test, and if I don't go into college, I'll end up having problems with career and job, and I'll never get married, and blah, blah, blah. This is what can happen sometimes when we talk about generalized anxiety disorder. It's a lot of worrying that keeps happening. So rather than focusing on that test, that child or that teenager is now focusing on all the future problems that could happen. And that is a way to actually avoid the anxiety about the test. So rather than solving that problem and just studying, that person is now going to be worried. So cognitive distortions are our thought processes that we have that might actually not be based in reality. So there are things like catastrophizing. The worst possible thing could happen. So I'm facing a test and I think I'm going to fail. That's the worst possible case scenario. And this might lead into even more worst possible cases of I'm going to fail this class, and that means I'm never going to graduate high school, and that means I'm never going to go to college, etc. There can be overgeneralizing, which is, well, if I fail this test, that means I'm a failure in all other areas of my life. So I am generalizing one failure to all failures in my life. Or it could also be personalizing. So instead of thinking, well, the test might have been bad and everybody failed it, it could be, I failed the test because I'm a worthless person. So personalizing it in some way, shape, or form.